Sometimes we get data in that is very consistent, but is in a form that we can't really use. This would be very nice if it was in a table similar to this. So let's make that conversion. Now I could write a VBA program to do this. In fact, we've had students do that in our IS 201 class. But let's do it in a different way that could be much faster if you know what you're doing, and I don't have to worry about programming. To do this, we're going to use the offset function. Now offset first asks for a reference. That's an anchor where we're going to refer to the data from there to put it where we want. I'm going to make that absolute and put it on this 101. And next it asks for how many rows down we want to go from that anchor and how many columns over. In this case we want it to be on the very same row and in the very same column. So I get the 101. Now if I'm wanting to get tons, I'm going to have to change that to be down one row. That's where I find the 6,000. Oh, and to find the next one, I'll have to go down 2 rows to get copper, gold, and silver. So I can think of this as I don't have to go down any rows, or I go down 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, next, what if I want to go to a new record? Well, I'd have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it appears I need to go down 6 rows every time I do that. So I'm going to put in a 6 in this case. And I get the second. What could we put here to maybe help us when we're trying to think about it? I'll put in a 0, a 6, and then a 12. And I'll just copy that pattern on down. Okay, now that we can see these patterns right here, I actually can just change this formula. Instead of saying 0 on rows, I'll say take whatever is in this cell, or at least on that row, so it's absolute row 9, relative column as I move across, and add to it whatever is in this column on that row. So I'll make it absolute column relative row and hit enter. Now if I copy these across, you'll notice I've got the 6, the 116, 0.017, 0.162. That worked. Now let's copy it down. And I get all my values. Very quickly and efficiently I was able to pull those all from a different location and replace them in this new table. Using that offset command, it worked very easily. Now, what if I'd like to change and just have the titles on the left and I have this type of information? Well, I could do something like this, do a control copy, and I'll come up here and right click and say transpose that, and you'll notice now the labels are on the left and I've got that here above. Or of course I can always copy it and say I want these just the values. That way if I move it around or to other places, it's always going to have those values and I can use it in other calculations. Often I'll do that with this data right here. I'll just paste those values on it. Let's try one other way of pasting. Come down here and I could say paste, and this time I'm going to come over here to the very end, paste just the link. And so now you'll notice this refers to J12, J3, and so forth. Okay, so there's a number of different ways that we can format and change data around. Let's do one more thing to remind us about mega formulas. we don't have to put these different numbers along the side. That was very useful in helping us to get to the answer, but we know with megaformulas we could get rid of them altogether. Let's do that. I come up here and I say, oh, well, F9. We come up here. Oh, there's no formula, so I guess I can't do it. So let's turn it into a formula. How would we turn that into a formula? I'd say equals the column it's in, and then I have to minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Minus 6, because F is the sixth column over. Now it's 0, and if I copy this across, I get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all using that formula. Do the same down here. Okay, let me help you with that. So we say equals row, and then minus 12. That would be 0, but then each time we go down, we need to increase that by 6. So instead of 1, we'll want, we need to multiply it by 6. So I'll come up here and say times that whole thing, 6. And let's copy it down and see if that works. Good. So now we're getting the same numbers down. So now we can go back and work with our mega formula, replace the F9 with this formula, Control C, escape, and in F9 I'll double click it and put paste. Do I have to worry about the absolute row? No, because we're using a formula now, so that it doesn't look to any row. And I'll hit enter, and let's go over and pick up this E formula. Control C, escape, and I'll double click on E12 and do a paste. Enter. Now if I've done it right, let's copy these across. Good, those look the same, and down. And I should be able to get rid of these intermediate formulas if I want. Delete. And delete. All of these stayed the same. But you say these up here have changed. That's correct. That's because these values are no longer there. We would have to write values that would work for these formulas as well. But we've done the job we came to do. We've taken this other format of data and created our own table, and now we could just put the values in that table and leave the formulas out altogether.